Hillary Clinton was asked about women and some of the difficulties, essentially, that she's had in garnering support from women. Let's go ahead and listen to a question that was posed by one of the moderators.
As you know, your strong supporter, former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, said the other day that there's a special place in hell for women who don't support other women. Do you agree with what she said?
Well, look, I think that she's been saying that for as long as I've known her, which is about 25 years. But it doesn't change my view that we need to empower everyone, women and men, to make the best decisions in their minds that they can make. That's what I've always stood for. And when it comes to the issues that are really on the front lines as to whether we're going to have equal pay, paid family leave, some opportunity for, women to go as far as their hard work and talent take them, I think that we still have some barriers to knock down, which is why that's at the core of my campaign. I would notice, just for a historic aside, somebody told me earlier today we've had like 200 presidential primary debates, and this is the first time there have been a majority of women on the stage. So, we'll take our progress wherever we can find it.
Nancy, what's the takeaway from that answer?
Well, she's trying to make the case to women that I'm not going to hold it against you if you don't vote for me. I want to empower you to make your own choices. I think one of the things that we all learned in New Hampshire is that women of all ages don't appreciate being told that they are obligated to vote for a particular candidate because that candidate is a woman. I can't tell you how many women I talked to in New Hampshire who expressed that very sentiment. And so she made it clear on the stage she had to figure out a way to sort of gracefully explain why she lost among women in New Hampshire, or at least try to spin it into something a little bit more positive. And so what she said was that I want all women to be empowered to make their own choices, and if they're not with me now, I hope they will be with me on the end, and that's what I'm going to work towards, which is a much more positive message than, gee, I don't know why my message in New Hampshire didn't resonate with more women.
Leslie, let me turn to you. As a Republican, looking at the challenges that Hillary Clinton has faced, what is it that you take away?
I'm going to take away as an American and as a voter and as a woman, and then I'll be a Republican. What's interesting about that, she is singing off a different song sheet, because Secretary Clinton started these debates by saying, and I would be the first female president. It's a very stark contrast after she realizes that this idea of gender equality is not going to be achieved by all women voting together. There's going to be so much division in how women generationally see this opportunity. So one, I think definitely, to Nancy's point, she's softened that message. But two, I think she's also trying to weave a very delicate thread where she's talking about paid leave, income inequality, reproductive rights to some extent. But are those all the issues that matter? Not really. Millennial women will tell you it's about economic opportunities, school debt, and so to some extent, there were some great ideas she talked about in 2008, breaking the glass ceiling, and it was a bit even more aspirational. But what we learned then and what we know now, it is usually about pocketbook issues. It is not going to be about making history in the way her generation did. For younger women, making history is entrepreneurship and breaking those kinds of ceilings and being more startups and more Silicon Valley and more opportunity to provide for their own in different ways. So I think all of us have to just look at women differently and come to the reality it's just as much economic as it is social.
And we heard that actually from young women in New Hampshire that we talked to. It's not just about the gender part of this. It's about the economy. And these are the issues that, if you look at the exit polls, showing that economy, income inequality, these are big issues for everybody, but specifically the women we talk to who are supporting Sanders, it's not about just gender. It's got to be about more than that.
I want to point out for our viewers that might just be joining us, Leslie and Steve are joining us from Greenville, South Carolina. That, of course, is the site of Saturday's CBS News GOP debate. And basically it's a bar because we can see some people behind you playing pool. So, and it's very loud there, so that's what that's about. Leslie, though, I want to turn back for a moment, though, on the notion of women and campaigns trying to, and each side trying to garner support from female voters. On the Republican side, I have to ask you this. As you well know, Donald Trump certainly angered many women with his comments, particularly regarding Megyn Kelly. He talked about blood coming out of her somewhere, and that certainly got a lot of people, including women, upset. What about the prospect of alienating women, perhaps, if Donald Trump, who's the front runner, in fact becomes the nominee?
Absolutely. You know, Steve talked a lot about the data and the exit polls coming out of New Hampshire. If you looked at the unfavorables Donald Trump had with women, it was about 75%. That cannot be a national candidate on the Republican or Democratic side when you really alienate 75% of women. Not only women, ethnic minorities, I mean, it's the flavor of the day in terms of his offenses. But truly for women, you will run into women, and I see them certainly on social media, who say they like Donald Trump, they like what he stands for, they like that economic issue, they're not concerned about the gender issues. But for a vast majority who don't really, for example, first-time voters who don't know a lot about the history of the Republican or the Democratic Party, you hear somebody like Donald Trump and you think it's the 1960s. So it's certainly a major area of concern, and it's certainly what a lot of people within the establishment Republicans are talking about daily.
It's interesting. You mentioned the establishment Republicans. I was talking to some people at the bar back here, women, by the way, who were weighing in on Trump.
Oh, wait a minute.
And they were saying to me, these are women. These are women in their 30s and 40s.
Keep going, Elaine.
Who were saying,
yes, Steve.
They were saying that they understand why people are offended by a lot of the things that Trump says, but they are personally not offended by it because they love the fact that he says what he thinks. And if you look at polling, it shows that people who support Trump are supporting him because they love him for the fact that he says what he thinks. I just thought it was very, very interesting in light of that question.
Yeah, that's such a telling anecdote, and that's certainly something that we have continued to hear.